We've all been picked on by jerks at some point in our lives. Maybe it was by your older sibling, or people you thought who were your friends. And I'll bet that most of this, for a lack of a better term, drama, happened in middle school. Middle school was a tough time for me, as I'm positive it is for many people. And it was around this time where I encountered a lot of jerks, including that time when I got asked out as a prank, and the entire class knew but me. But before we get into that, let's do our quick, hey, what you drawing part of this video. The art you're watching me draw in the background is actually a page from my webcomic Outcasts. If you haven't read my webcomic yet, Outcasts follows the stories of the Myers children, 4 kids who have been in hiding for years, all because they have magical powers, and their beloved ruler, Queen Vanessa, seems to want to erase magic and everyone who possesses it. If that sparked your interest or you want to learn more about the characters, you can check them out on my webcomic Outcasts on Tapas and come join my Patreon for exclusive content. Joining my Patreon gets you exclusive content, early access to my Outcasts comic pages, YouTube videos before they're released, and lots of other cool stuff. Links to both of these are in the description. And with that out of the way, let's move on to the story. Now, something that you need to know for context is that when I started 5th grade, my brother and I transferred to a private school. If you're wondering what the difference is between a private and a public school, all I can say is that while it does seem more sheltered than your average public school is, there isn't that much of a difference, save the fact that we had to wear school uniforms and classes were relatively smaller. The first thing I specifically remember about middle school was because you never saw a girl wearing shorts or pants anywhere in 6th grade onwards. My mom thought it was a school rule, which it wasn't, that I had to wear skirts, which I hated. Look, I was a tomboy at this age, and frankly, I felt like wearing skirts would come back to bite me in the butt. Which it did, but I'll save that story for another video. Anyways, my school was pretty small, which meant that you got very well acquainted with the people in your grade throughout the years. For the most part, this was a good thing. Until it wasn't. Okay, for context. Every fall semester at my school, we had a school dance called Homecoming. And for most people, it was a huge deal. All the girls got these huge decorated ribbons called mums that they wore around the school. And honestly, I'm super impressed that none of us tripped and ate it during the school day. Seriously, these things were huge. Anyways, prom didn't come until high school, so this was kind of our middle school version of it. And for most of the girls, boys who wanted to go with them got these big, extravagant posters asking him to homecoming, usually with a little pun on it. But I never was into that kind of stuff. I mean, sure, I would like to get asked to homecoming by a boy, but I wasn't really on their level, so to speak. I was shy, anxious, and I wasn't popular or anything, so I wasn't even on their radar. This all led into one day in pre-algebra when a boy who we'll just call Isaac leaned over and asked me to be his homecoming date. Now, I might be naive, but I wasn't stupid, especially since this thing had happened before. So I had a deep gut feeling that this wasn't a genuine ask for me to go to homecoming with him. So I asked him, "This is a joke, right?" And then, with quote-unquote tears in his eyes, he acted like he was so embarrassed because he had just asked me to go with him to homecoming in front of the whole class, and I'd rejected him. The whole class started getting mad at me, saying, "Oh my gosh, why would you do that? He was just trying to ask you out." So, with the guilt gnawing at me, I accepted. And he said he'd give me his phone number so that we could set up our transportation to the dance and all that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was on cloud 9 at this point. A boy actually wanted to go to homecoming with me? But then, why was the whole class snickering behind me? Afterwards, after class had ended, I was walking out the door and I asked my friend Alice, "Hey, what was all the laughing about? He just asked me the homecoming dance." And my friend, without batting an eye, replied, "Oh, he pranked you. He already asked another girl to be his homecoming date." You ever get that feeling like you've just been punched in the stomach and the wind has been knocked out of you? Tears are welling in your eyes, but you can't cry. Everyone will see you. Everyone will stare at you. Yeah, I felt that hard that day. But I'm not going to end this video on that note, with me crying because a stupid jerk decided to prank me. So I want to end this video with a good one, a story that I've been wanting to tell. So this is the story of how I finally found my place in True Friends in middle school. At my school, you were allowed to try out for extracurriculars in the spring semester of 6th grade. This way, when you got to 7th grade, you would already be a part of a team or a club or stuff like that. For girls, it was divided into a lot of groups and teams, but one really stuck out to me: cheer. Now, disclaimer before I get into the rest of the story. I honestly believe that a lot of cheerleaders are very friendly and compassionate. That just wasn't the case at my school. I mean, a couple of the cheerleaders were really friendly, but most of them, just wasn't the case at my school. I tried out for cheerleading my 6th grade year and didn't make the cut. Okay, whatever, right? Clearly I just need to work a little harder, get more experience. The coach even approached me later and asked if I wanted to be one of the cheer managers for the team. Of course I said yes. And then I realized I was basically just the water girl for the team at football games. And the other girls, they hardly acknowledged me as part of the team, or even their friend at points. The real members of the squad would constantly ignore me, talk down to me, or just straight up exclude me from social events. They were, about 95% of them were just very passive aggressive. And even if I did get invited to a party, it just felt like a pity invite. They knew I was sensitive and didn't want me to cry, so they were forced to let me tag along. After I tried out the following year and still didn't make the squad, I was done. My self-confidence was at an all-time low now, and I didn't want to be a part of a group that constantly excluded people just to boost their self-esteem. So, that year, I tried out for and I made the dance team. And that's an amazing story I can't wait to share with you guys. If enough people want it, I'll make a video about it, because this was honestly one of the best times of my life. Was there some drama? Sure, but it felt so much more like a family, and like I had friends who actually cared about me. And I did. So, if you're someone who's going through hardships in middle school, high school, any part of your life, take it from someone who's traveled that road. It gets better. You'll find a group where you feel at home, where your quirks are celebrated, and no one will make you feel any less than how you should be treated. And that's a wrap for this video. A special thank you to my Patreon members. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting me in the making of my webcomic Outcasts and my artistic journey. Also, just a reminder, if you would like to see more art like this, or you want to learn more about my webcomic Outcasts, you can check it out on Tapas and come join my Patreon for exclusive content. Joining my Patreon gets you exclusive content, early access to Outcast comic pages, YouTube videos before they're even released, and lots of other cool stuff. Links to both are in the description. Keep creating, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!